Jaya Shri Tulsinath, Shri Tulsinath, Shri Tulsinath, Jaya Shri Tulsinath. Jaya Giridhari Lal, Giridhari Lal, Jaya Giridhari Lal. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. This is chapter, 6th volume chapter entitled Preaching to America Part 2. Srila Prabhupada's traveling in the USA and Canada had been exactly in the mood of a wandering sannyasi. And he was showing his GBC men that they should not simply sit behind desks and manage, but should travel and preach. Traveling, Prabhupada stressed, did not mean aimless wandering or pleasure-seeking. While traveling, the preacher had to do some substantial work for the Krishna Consciousness Society. And that also Srila Prabhupada had shown at the Dallas Gurukula, the Mississippi Farm, Ratha Yatra. In Detroit, he had secured a mansion, and in Toronto, he was praying for a wonderful church to be financed by the Indians. In Chicago, he had shown how to preach on contemporary issues like crime and women's liberation without compromise. His disciples could not match or imitate him, but his example of selfless work on behalf of Krishna should be their standard. In spite of Prabhupada's traveling to so many cities, most people in the United States did not recognize his position. Reporters would interview him, but their superficial stories in the newspapers drew little attention. To the press, Prabhupada was just another celebrity in the constant parade of faces and events. As Lord Krishna had predicted in Bhagavad Gita, out of thousands of men, only one seeks perfection. Srila Prabhupada and his tireless search for that one person out of thousands had shown his enthusiasm and willingness to speak with whoever came to see him. And through Ratha Yatra and other public festivals, he was offering millions a first taste of potent spiritual life. Even one moment's association with a pure devotee could save them from a most inauspicious fate in their next life. Besides the hundreds of thousands who benefited incidentally, in each city, a fortunate few felt their lives greatly affected by Srila Prabhupada. Professor Thomas Hopkins in Philadelphia, Assemblyman John Porter in Chicago, a flight supervisor on a plane to San Francisco, an appreciative mother in Philadelphia, and many others all understood that their meeting with Srila Prabhupada was special. Srila Prabhupada often cited a specific reason for his touring. My duty, he had said in Berkeley, is to see that my disciples who have accepted me as Guru may not fall down. That is my anxiety. And as he had lovingly expressed in Dallas, I have got so many children and grandchildren, so I have come to see them. He was the spiritual father of his disciples, and every ISKCON center was his home. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Reading from Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, Volume 4. Text 61 onwards. There's quite a few verses, so just do English until we reach purport. Balabharda Bhattacharya used to cook all kinds of vegetables gathered from the forest, and Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to accept these preparations. Balabhadra Bhattacharya used to keep a stock of food grain that would last from 2 to 4 days. Where there were no people, he would cook the grain and prepare vegetables, spinach, roots, and fruits collected from the forest. The Lord was always very happy to eat these forest vegetables, and he was even happier when he had an opportunity to stay in a solitary place. Balabhadra Bhattacharya was so affectionate to the Lord that he was rendering service just like a menial servant. His assistant Brahmana carried the water pot and garments. The Lord used to bathe 3 times a day in the warm water of the waterfalls. He also used to heat himself morning and evening with a fire made with the limitless wood. While traveling in the secluded forest and feeling very happy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made the following statement. My dear Bhattacharya, I have traveled very far through the forest and I have not even slightly received any trouble. Krishna is very merciful, especially to me. He has shown his mercy by bringing me on this path through the forest, and thus he has given me great pleasure. Before this, I decided to go to Vrindavan and on the way see my mother, the river Ganges, and other devotees once again. I thought that once again I would see and meet all the devotees and take them with me to Vrindavan. Thus I went to Bengal, and I was very happy to see my mother, the river Ganges, and the devotees. However, when I started for Vrindavan, many thousands and millions of people gathered and began to go with me. Oops. In this way, I was going to Vrindavan with a big crowd. But through the mouth of Sanatan, Krishna taught me a lesson. Thus, by making some impediment, he has brought me to Vrindavan on the path through the forest. Krishna is an ocean of mercy. He is especially merciful to the poor and fallen. Without his mercy, there is no possibility of happiness. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then embraced Balabhadra Bhattacharya and told him, "It is only by your kindness that I am now so happy." Balabhadra Bhattacharya replied, "My dear Lord, you are Krishna himself, and therefore you are merciful. I am a fallen living entity, but you have bestowed a great favor upon me. Sir, I am most fallen, yet you have brought me with you. Showing great mercy, you have accepted food prepared by me. You have made me your carrier Garuda, although I am no better than a condemned crow. Thus, you are the independent personality of Godhead, the original Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has the form of Satchit Ananda Vigraha, transcendental bliss, knowledge, and eternity. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him who turns the dumb into eloquent speakers and enables the lame to cross mountains. Such is the mercy of the Lord. This is quotation from the Bhavarta Deepika commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 111. In this way, Balabhadra Bhattacharya offered his prayers to the Lord. By rendering service unto him in ecstatic love, he pacified the Lord's mind. So that's today's verse. Hey Mata, Nana Suke, Prabhu, Aila, Kashi. Hey Mata Nana Suke, Prabhu, Aila, Kashi. Madhyagna, Snana, Kaila, Manikarnikaya, Asi, Madhyana Snana Kaila, Manikarnikaya, Asi. Hey Mata Nana Suke, Prabhu, Aila, Kashi. Madhyana Snana Kaila, Manikarnikaya, Asi. Madhyana Snana Kaila, Manikarnikaya, Asi. Hey Mata Nana Suke, Prabhu, Aila, Kashi. Madhyana Snana Kaila, Manikarnikaya, Asi. Hey Mata Nana Suke, Prabhu, Aila, Kashi. Madhyana Snana Kaila, Manikarnikaya, Asi. Hey Mata Nana Suke, Prabhu, Aila, Kashi. Madhyana Snana Kaila, Manikarnikaya, Asi. Hey Mata Nana Suke Prabhu Aila Kashi. Madhyana Snana Kaila Manikarnikaya Asi. Hey Mata Nana Suke Prabhu Aila Kashi. Madhyana Snana Kaila Manikarnikaya Asi. Hey Mata, in this way. Nana Sukhe, in great happiness. Prabhu, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Aila came. Kashi, to the holy place named Kashi. Madhyana Snana, afternoon bath. Kaila took Manikarnikaya to the bathing place known as Manikarnika. Asi, coming. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Finally, the Lord arrived with great happiness at the holy place called Kashi. Responsibly, please. Finally, the Lord arrived with great happiness at the holy place called Kashi. There he took his bath in the bathing ghat known as Manikarnika. Purport. Kashi is another name for Varanasi, Benares. It has been a place of pilgrimage since time immemorial. Two rivers named Asi and Varuna merge there. Manikarnika is famous because, according to the opinion of great personalities, a bejeweled earring fell there from the ear of Lord Vishnu. According to some, it fell from the ear of Lord Shiva. The word mani means jewel, and karnika means from the ear. According to some, Lord Vishwanath is the great physician who cures the disease of material existence by delivering a person through the ear, which receives the vibration of the holy name of Lord Ram. Because of this, the holy place is called Manikarnika. It is said that there is no better place than where the river Ganges flows, and the bathing ghat known as Manikarnika is especially sanctified because it is very dear to Lord Vishwanath. In the Kashi Kanda it is said, Samsari Chintamanir Atra Yasmat Tarakam Sajjana Karnikayam Shivo Vidate Saha Santakale Tadgiyate Samani Karniketi Mukti Lakshmi Mahapita Manistachcharanam Jayo Karnikeyam Tata Prahu Yam Janamani Karnikam. According to this passage from Kashikanda, one who gives up his body at Manikarnika is liberated simply by remembering Lord Shiva's name. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjanashlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare mukam karoti vachalam pangum langaite girim. Yet kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. In the mercy of spiritual master, blind man can see the stars, lame man can cross the mountains, and dumb man can speak eloquently. So the translation. Again. Finally, the Lord arrived with great happiness at a holy place called Kashi. There he took his bath in a bathing ghat known as Mani Karnika. So here you can see Lord Chaitanya continues his travel to Vrindavan with Balabhadra Bhattacharya, and he is acting as his own devotee, teaching here many lessons. One of them, he is considering the mercy of Krishna. Both things, he had a very, very pleasant travel through the forest without any problems. When he was outside of the forest, he used to get invited by brahmanas, and when he was in the forest, then everything was there. Balabhadra Bhattacharya was so expert, he knew what to pick up, what is edible in a forest. He had some sort of pot, and there was an unlimited supply of wood in the forest. And he used to make very nice, delicious preparations. So it was very, very kind of simple life. And Lord Chaitanya, who's acting as a sannyasi, was very pleased and very happy. So because there was no problems, there was very pleasant situation. He still was given credit for this pleasant trip to both to Krishna and to his devotee that was accompanying him. So in the material world, the conditioned living entity, whenever things are going well, whenever people are, is it called, on the wave, like when you are. I was speaking with Madhava because in Australia they do a lot of surfing, like a catching the wave. You kind of wait for a wave for a little while. You have to observe everything is nicely when the next wave is coming, and then you catch the wave and jump on the wave, and you kind of ride it for. It's just a few seconds. I thought it lasts, for like a minute or something, but actually it just lasts for 5-6 seconds or something. And people do that for a good few hours, trying to catch the wave, observing the situation, looking what is happening, catching the wave, and just riding those few good seconds. So I don't know whether that saying in the material world is coming from the surfing or something. When people say, I've been riding the wave, or I'm in a flow. So like everything is going well in your life. You're catching a little kind of, Kali Yuga is not very common, but you're catching some wave of a good karma, that you're reaping some good result of your activity. You're just getting what you want. Things are really happening for you. You're excelling in your career or a private life or in relationships, etc. So you're riding a wave, and at that time, people, of course, and even devotees, as often they, materialistic people, they barely think about God at that time or thank God at that situation. And it can happen as well to the devotees, that when everything is fantastic, there can be a tendency to forget the Lord at that time, or where everything is coming from. And even if it is some sort of good karma for devotee, because devotee understands that now my karma is in the hands of Krishna, so whatever comes is his mercy. If he likes, he can completely withdraw my good karma and give me nothing, even if I'm doing something very important or opulent or whatever, if Krishna decides that this is not good for my devotees' devotion, then he can completely withhold that karma. And so whatever he gives, we should never think, oh, it must be some good karma, or it's just because my abilities, because of my intelligence, or whatever, is happening, but is actually happening because of mercy of Krishna. And this is Lord Chaitanya is exemplifying. The trip was very smooth, is invited very nicely everywhere. He's got this nice devotee, he's getting some really nice prasadam, simple, is warm at night. So everything is there, very nicely arranged there. And he's thanking Krishna. Krishna is the ocean of mercy. By his mercy, everything is going very well, everything is going very smooth. And on top of that, the Lord himself is thanking his own devotee, is thanking because actually of you. Then after thanking Krishna, then he also gives credit to the devotee because you are so merciful and kind to me, because of your company, because you're doing such a nice service. Even the Supreme Lord himself, is so grateful. He's completely self-satisfied. Everything is happening by his will. And he gives opportunity out of his causeless mercy and compassion to render service to him. And then he's thanking the devotee who is rendering the service, that ultimately is by his mercy has been given opportunity to render that service. So he's thanking gratefully, so much appreciating his own devotees' kind of sincere and humble service. So it should be very encouraging as well for us, that if we render a service sincerely, no matter how insignificant it may be, and we are kind of fallen in Kali Yuga, still Lord is appreciative, as he is exemplifying here, is grateful for this service rendered. And this is this wonderful quality of Krishna, of being very, very grateful for the service rendered. So then, of course, we have to also follow in the footsteps of the Lord and be grateful, because so many things are happening around us. Of course, we're rendering some service, but there is so many things that we may take for granted. There is breakfast there. There is so many things are happening. Bills are paid, and things are, the buildings are warm, and so many wonderful things are happening around us. Kind of, for Krishna, it's like everything happens by his will, but actually everything else in this material world, for a living entity, whatever is happening, it's because somebody did some sacrifice, tapasya. And like this is Scotland here is since 1988, so that is that's 32 years of tapasya, sacrifice, hard work, going so much extra mile, and and so much effort, devotees, and sacrifice has put for this situation to happen, that people can come and benefit from it. It kind of made, in one sense, things easier because of so many service has been rendered. So like Lord Chaitanya's, this trip through the forest was easier because it was accompanied by the Bhattacharya. This is also, for some other people, devotees that come in touch with Krishna consciousness, it has been made easier because of sacrifice of many hours, of sweat that devotees has performed and sacrificed in their life, and giving their youthful energy, many years of their youthful energy, so that others can come and benefit, and the large amount of people can benefit by that sacrifice. because Prabhupada wanted, some places where people can come. In one sense, he said we can just very simply, we don't need much, but we may providing all this facility for the people to come and get Krishna consciousness. This is a very important lesson. And then after he's been glorifying his devotee, another important thing that Balabhadra Bhattacharya is not saying, oh yes, you recognized my service, thank you very much. I was waiting for this moment until my service will be recognized. He is saying, I've been giving this service by your causeless mercy. I'm so fallen and degraded by you giving me this opportunity to serve. And then he quotes some sort of Garuda, I believe, that I've been giving service as Garuda, but I'm not better than the crow. He's kind of really, really humbling himself and not taking any credit. So it's like a very beautiful exchange between Lord and devotee. The Lord is trying to give a credit to his devotee. Devotee is not taking a pinch of it. He's giving credit back to the Lord. So it's very, very sweet exchange that is between Lord and devotee, and devotees in general. This kind of exchange, is not taking credit. Very, very appreciative of each other's service. Very appreciative of each other's opportunity to be together on this path. And also, then the Lord mentions another occasion when Sanatana Goswami, he was traveling with hundreds of thousands of people to Vrindavan, and it's not the best way to do it, but it was like a pastime of the Lord to do it. And Sanatana Goswami advised, why it's not for me to instruct you, but I am. I would advise for you to go by foot, just on your own to Vrindavan, not with this big crowd. So the Lord, as well, Supreme Personality of Godhead, you could have said, who do you think you are, to tell me, what to do. And it sounded like it was a bit of obstruction because he wanted so much. He tried to go to Vrindavan, and then he went, as is described here, he went back to see his devotees. And then again, it was like a second attempt to go to Vrindavan, I believe, if not more. Then he's going with hundreds of thousands of people. And again, Sanatana Goswami said, you shouldn't go like this. He was so keen. So he again, left all the crowd and only took one servant with him. So it kind of was a third attempt. So he took on board instructions. Sanatana Goswami did it in a very respectful and nice way. He said, it's not my place to tell you, but this is what I would advise you to do. And Lord Chaitanya very humbly as well took the advice on board. But in one sense, he was prevented to go to Vrindavan at that point. And he mentions here again somewhere that it was like an obstacle, you couldn't just go straight there. And in that obstacle, he also saw as a mercy of Krishna. So whenever good is happening in devotee's life, is a mercy of Krishna, and whatever obstacle is there in devotee's life is also devotee takes as a mercy of Krishna. So everything is a mercy of Krishna. And while materialistic person or aspiring devotee, whenever things are going well, then is taking credit, devotee, or a materialist takes credit for it, or when things are going bad, and blames the Lord, or blames the circumstances, blames other people. So that's we should follow in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. So everything is Krishna's mercy, whether it is good or bad, is Krishna's mercy. Of course, exceptions are when you space out. When you make space out, you shouldn't say, this is what's Krishna's mercy. You need to take responsibility for this. And And then this wonderful place that Lord Chaitanya came, Mani Karnika, where Mani means jewel and Karnika means from the ear. This is a very special place where he took bath. And one of the things that happens there, apparently, that Lord Shiva tells you the name of Ram in your ear. So it gives you basically a jewel. And jewel can be interpreted in a few ways, actually, in this purport. One type of jewel was that Vishnu's earring fell there, bejeweled earring fell there, so it becomes a place of pilgrimage wherever the Lord has anything to do with the Lord and his incarnation. So it becomes this very special place. But also another type of jewel is this holy name of Lord Ram. It's also like in this drama that we do, Golokera, Premadama, Harinama, Sankirtana, and that from Goloka, this greatest jewel comes in the form of holy name and Karnika and enters our ear. So it's the greatest jewel because it's not different from Krishna. Yes, Krishna is the. I'm just reading a little bit about Krishna's beauty this morning in Caritamrita, and he was Narada Muni was speaking how devotees, some devotees condemn even Lord Brahma for creating eyelids because Krishna's beauty is so amazing that losing one side out of it, it's disturbing for greatest devotees of Krishna and his pastimes. But they praise Indra, who has got 1,000 eyes. So I guess those 1,000 eyes are not blinking all at the same time, because they're saying, how fortunate is Indra, because he can see the Lord all the time. So which would indicate, that his eyes are blinking in a different times. So when one eye is closing, another eye is seeing it. So how great fortune is of Indra to see Krishna with his 1,000 eyes, and like all devotees almost are valuing to see Krishna so much that then Narada Muni further explains that they almost desire that their every sense could become like an eye, so they can enjoy seeing of Krishna. And of course, in this age, we see it through the ears. It's such an important thing. We see it through the ears, just like we are what we eat, and also we are what we hear. This is how Shikodan time I pusha shiki. We have to be just like people are becoming very conscious of what they eat. Organic, no junk food, and etc. No meat, so on. People very, very careful what they eat. So actually, when we become further, fortunate, we realize that we have to be discriminative of what not only what we put into our mouth, but we also what we put into our ears. We have to be actually very vigilant what we put in our ears. Are we putting a gossip? Are we putting a criticism? Or are we hearing our own mind complaining? Or are we hearing appreciation of devotees? Are we trying to consciously try to appreciate devotees in our own mind? Or are we hearing the scripture? Or are we hearing radio or newspapers? Of course, we need to know what is going on in the world, but are we overdoing it, more than necessary? Or are we hearing the holy name, or are we hearing our mind at the time? So it can be, is a jewel we're putting in our ears, or are we putting some poison that's going to destroy or damage in some way our spiritual life? Or are we putting this greatest jewel that we're becoming purified and attracted to Krishna? So let's stop here. Are there any questions or comments in this?
I'm just wondering, Lord sees everything as the mercy of the Lord, so he sees the devotees there as well as the mercy of the Lord, and he was saying that the devotee shouldn't use that. the other devotee that he's with, if he's spaced out, then he shouldn't use that as an
Yes.
excuse and say, well,
Yes.
my being spaced out is the mercy of Allah and you.
Yeah.
So he shouldn't think like that, that's true.
Yes.
But the one who's happened to put up with the one who's spaced out, he has to see it
Mm-hmm.
as the mercy of Allah. Does he? Or does he have to find?
I guess it depends on your level of responsibility in the situation. If you're like, if it's your service, and then it's your responsibility to try to do something about it, to try to help devotee to be less spaced out. And that sometimes the situation is quite hopeless. That you come to the point that it seems that is almost nothing is impossible to do. So of course you still try to help, somehow or another. But sometimes the best help is just to leave it and allow, just the time factor and to act and wait until a person becomes purified enough to be able to kind of take responsibility for one's own actions and do something about life. Otherwise, if you just your relationship totally breaks down because you're trying to help a person who is completely unwilling, and both parties becomes like a very, very upset, and then you just not get anywhere. So you can see Prabhupada had some relationship with some devotees was like that. It was like an expert judge of circumstances. Some devotees were never chastised by Prabhupada, and some devotees were always chastised by Prabhupada. And some devotees, sometimes was chastised and sometimes not. It was just like such an expert judge of time, place, and circumstances. So you just have to see and become kind of expert. Yes.
It's also unfortunate that sometimes somebody goes out of the way to try to help them make their life better for them or help them improve Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
Try many, many times, make it a bit forceful with it, and then they just get accused of being harsh.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's still the duty of that person to carry on trying to be a well wisher for them.
Yes.
They don't change. They don't show any
Yes.
intention to change, So what's the kind of limits where one should actually just say, okay, that's can't take responsibility for that person any longer.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the kind of limits we should do? Because you also have to be merciful to yourself, I believe.
Yes.
If you're trying to take on responsibility for someone else and they're not reciprocating, then when do you draw the line and say, okay, that's it, nothing I can do any further?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard service. Those who do take responsibility for others can be thankless task, and it can be that the person you're trying to help can start seeing you as an enemy because the mind is so like becoming resentful, and like and then anything you try to do, a person sees that you are like interfering somehow with their life or with their freedom or etc. So it is a quite thankless task. So that detachment on the part of person who is trying to help is very important. Anyway, I'm just speaking theoretically because I to sometimes, and sometimes that is the best help. Just leave a person, for some time at least. Just allow the process to work somehow. Let the person take service and become purified instead of if we,
I'm just going to ask another question. Sometimes
yes.
you may think, well, maybe I'll take a back seat, get someone else to help me see it still doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
You realize it doesn't matter who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Unless the person's willing,
Yes.
open, then eventually just going to keep biting the hand that feeds them.
That's
It's a
right.
bit like a kid. A child just wants to eat the sweets all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the parent says, no, you have to eat some food which is going to nourish you.
Mm.
You have to eat it at regular times.
Yes.
You can't just eat And then the child just puts on a tantrum, and then the parent might say, okay, one of the other parents will try to help them, but then it doesn't matter who
Yes.
helps them, they just stubbornly want to keep on eating the same sweets whenever they like, fucking with them with anything, sweets right in the fridge.
Mhm.
So what does it come down to? The person's willingness?
Yeah, actually just was reminded about this verse that Satyananda Swami quoted in his book. He's saying, for one who has decided that they don't want purification, and then it's no amount of various types of efforts, including, devotional efforts. I can't remember exact the verse, maybe anybody remembers it, how it goes, but it included even, devotional activities. If you decided, I don't want to get purified. Oh yeah, yeah, for one who decided for the things to remain as they are, for one who decided for the things to remain as they are, no amount of spiritual activity. And I mean, it's like heavy verse, but it's not exactly that it's completely hopeless. Of course, you get purification if you do it unwillingly, but each verse kind of emphasizes a different point, and in this specific point, the emphasis is given on your unwillingness. So if you decided, I don't want to become purified, then no amount of spiritual activity will help you to become purified.
So sometimes we have a person who may be in that position,
Yes.
and then we follow for them, we want to pray to the Lord, start
Mm-hmm.
to try to reciprocate with the help that's given.
Yeah, yeah. Is this having that putting the faith, isn't it? Transferring our faith from our own mind and intelligence that kind of brought us to the misery. It brought us on our knees before we came to Krishna consciousness for the most of people, and then we embraced Krishna consciousness as a solution. So that very same intelligence and the mind that brought us to on the knees. And after some time, it becomes again prominent. We can't hear anyone, we can't take anybody's advice, and etc. And then again, it brings us on our knees. So if we can just be able to put our faith in the scripture, put our faith in the advice of the Vaishnavas and their mercy, and usually that comes from Vaishnavas, the mercy comes from the Vaishnavas. That's how Krishna acts. Sometimes we're, Krishna, please be merciful, please be kind to me, give me your mercy. And then devotees are trying to help us, and we're still waiting for Krishna to manifest his kindness. While Krishna acts to the devotees, he wants us to become dependent on devotees. At one point as a young devotee, I was thinking, I don't need anybody's help. I just cracked it, and then, it was for almost a decade, or 5 years, it was completely smashed. Had to beg, for devotees' mercy. Krishna brought me on the knees. So Krishna wants us to become dependent on other devotees' mercy.
There's a nice story of Radhanath Maharaj. Devotees were preaching to Narishya and staying in Vrindavan.
Mm-hmm.
He should do what his spiritual master wants him to do.
Yes.
He accepted Srila Prabhupada at that point. His spiritual master never said, you should just stay here.
Yes.
It's Maya. And so when he saw Srila Prabhupada, he was a little bit apprehensive, because he thought Prabhupada's really going to chastise me with refusing to follow what the devotees were telling me. And Prabhupada looks at him and smiles and he says, so, you like Vrindavan?
Yeah.
And he says, yes, Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada says, Vrindavan is a wonderful place.
Yes.
And as soon as Prabhupada said that, he immediately thought, I'll do anything you want, Prabhupada. If you want me to go, I'll go. I'll do anything you want. So he was just so touched by Prabhupada. It was okay. I think he kind of got through to him that way, and then he was okay.
That's a really fantastic point, and also maybe the spiritual master's duty is to get devotees to love him, and then be prepared to do so much for him. So that's another actually very approach, is just kind of show the love to person who is very unwilling, and that's actually, I guess, that's what I decided to do to some extent when you know, when a person is completely unwilling and is completely hopeless situation, if, you know, let's just try to show love to those people, and that gives hope that this is the way to go.
It seems like that can
Yes,
extend even to Krishna, that we show our
yes.
gratefulness to facilities he's given us, and we just want to take,
Mm,
just happy to be in some kind of comfortable situation, stick your head in the sand, as
yes.
long as we feel comfortable at this point in time,
Mm,
not really thinking, true, ultimate well-being,
mm, yes,
despite the fact we hear every day that we can't make a comfortable place with the material world, just keep on trying to do it. It just seems,
yes.
yeah, it just comes back to that version of those who have decided to stay in the material world.
Mm, yes. Also, another thing actually that Krishna does, in one sense, you know, we've been unwilling for many births, you know, personally speaking, like very very unwilling, and and Krishna is sending the scriptures. Krishna is sending holy people and sadhus, and it comes in of various types of forms of conscience, you know, as a Paramatma. So many things Krishna is trying again and again and again and again. And for many lifetimes, we just completely didn't take advantage of it. So also, you know, Krishna's patience as well is like so phenomenal, and how he is simultaneously detached and simultaneously is just waiting. I guess it's also a right moment, isn't it? Sometimes person is just not ready at all, you know, to receive some sort of help. It's maybe not the right time, not the right person, but some another times it could be a good time, because in our life we received something from Krishna, opportunity, like when we were like on our knees. So maybe sometimes it's just waiting for a right opportunity when a person somehow is ready to receive the mercy. And you know, Krishna in one sense he is waiting as well for us, you know, to make some another step as well. Even if we are doing reasonably well in Krishna consciousness, there is some another step that we need to make, you know, at some point, and Krishna is waiting as well for that step. We maybe not, maybe we are hesitating to make that step as well, and he is waiting until that time is kind of ripe.
There's difference between Krishna and us. He's directing the wanderings of all living entities.
Yes.
He's conscious of all living entities. And so,
Mm.
although we have to be tolerant and patient with each other, we
Yes.
can expect someone else to have the patience of Krishna.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. There's
I think
God.
it's what helps us realize that, to some degree, realize that we're also being tolerated.
Mm.
If everyone thinks like that, I'm just
Yes.
grateful for the patience each other has shown them, and things
Mm-hmm.
have managed to quite well.
Yeah, and
It's
then
all about Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is all about
mm-hmm.
reciprocation.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't realize that someone's reciprocating with us, or
Mm-hmm.
we do reciprocate,
Yes.
and we're just too self-absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you try to take that self-absorption and absorb into Krishna's service, and try to do something to please the Lord and please the devotees,
Yeah.
that takes a lot
Yes.
more than center of the universe.
Yes. You can see this wonderful reciprocation between Balabhadra Bhattacharya and Krishna. And that is also another inspiration, you know, if we are struggling somehow to take advice or instruction or etc. But we can see, and the whole thing becomes so bitter and unpleasant, you know, on both sides. And but if we are able to give up and let go that false ego and just take like a humble position and take on board and etc., then how beautiful it is, you know, it's such a sweet, wonderful exchange then can take place when that is there. It's very aspirational. I think, you know, this my life will be so much easier. Somebody else's life will be so much easier, and becomes like this beautiful nectar.
Just like the poem, it's interesting to reflect that Sanatana Goswami instructed about Chaitanya. When you
Yes.
see Sanat Goswami and Gautam Maharaj, they were very, very humble. Goswami was too shy to even speak.
Yes.
About Chaitanya, he would speak to those men. Sanat Goswami was very meek and humble, but he told, he instructed,
Yes.
gave instructions about Chaitanya, about Chaitanya taught
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting combination.
Yes.
If you're very humble and very weak, you can't instruct anybody, you can't tell anybody. Who are you to tell me to be humble?
Yes.
And I would say you can be very, very humble, but it's a valid instruction. And
Yeah, I guess Prabhupada also exemplified at times, this point, and that you can ask advice at times from his disciples on a certain points, and sometimes, he's like, he's trying to develop some strategy, and he's trying different things. So seeing a bigger picture of how people are reacting or what people are thinking helps you to administer the medicine better. Just like doctor, is asking many questions of a patient. What about this and that and the third thing, just like getting this big overview of a patient situation, so you can administer the medicine much better. So yeah, that's also interesting. Okay, I think I'll stop here. This time is run out. Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantarachi Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.